if we have council members show up to give us a quorum, we'll break into that, call the meeting to order, do all that stuff, and then go on. But y'all may remember when we were having our budget retreat the other evening, we discussed, some needs to look at retail development so that we could enhance our, sales tax collections for the city. Retail strategies. Lindsay and Ryan are with Retail Strategies. Retail Strategies has been coming up to Alva for our Lieutenant Governor's Turkey Hunt for years, and they've continued to have interest in our community. Finally, this past year, here in April, when we had it, Ryan and I had a really good conversation, and he got to talking about some of the things that they do for other communities, and I feel like we need to hear this because it's something that I'm in my 10th year as mayor, and we've been pretty well flat despite our best interests and intentions in growing retail in Alva. We're not getting it done, and so I think it would be good to hear from somebody who's an expert in it who may be able to help us. And so Lindsay and Ryan, I'm going to give you guys the floor. We can go through your, still not a quorum. Okay. I'm going to give you guys the floor, and we'll just get into your presentation.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll be brief. So I'm Ryan Cole. I work with Retail Strategies. I was here in April. Mayor and I got to talk. We did a full kind of windshield tour of Alva. It's awesome. There's so much potential. We kind of had that conversation and said, here's what we're doing, exactly what he's described. Lindsay Bailey is our Director of Community Partnerships in Oklahoma, in Kansas, and Nebraska. So she's really familiar with the territory, really familiar with how municipalities work within the state. It's really her time. We have a deck. We just kind of wanted to go through. We're not lecturers. We are not professors. This is very much a conversation, but wanted to talk through. This is what we do. This is how we do it. If you have questions, let us know. But let's just have a dialogue about what we've done in the past in Oklahoma. How do we do it? What does that mean for Alva? How does that impact? So with that, I will be quiet. I'll let Lindsay, who actually knows what she's doing, kind of work through this.
I want to also time out that we do have Jeremy Zeller with us this evening. Jeremy, if you don't know him, he's the Director of Woods County Economic Development, and so he's kind of worked with Steve and I and been on some conversations with Retail Strategies as we got prepared for this evening. And so this isn't something that we're necessarily going to just be all in, just City of Alva. Woods County's definitely at the table with us as well. So, all right, Lindsay.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Let's see, what will be the best way for me to just kind of point, kind of like that? Okay. Well, just to introduce myself, Lindsay Bailey. My background is I'm from really rural town in West Kentucky. My uncle was the mayor of a rural town, like I said. Background is worked workforce development, and then went to Chick-fil-A corporate for 5 years. Really missed the economic development piece in my life, but also really wanted to work with a lot of communities and not just one. So I found Retail Strategies, and thank you guys for having us. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, of course, this is a conversation. This deck and this template is just really a template for a conversation. So feel free to stop me at any point. We can dive into things a little bit further, but please don't. You have to save your questions for the end. I'm really excited to answer them. So just to tell you a little bit about us, we've partnered with about 800 communities since 2011. How we came about, our company came about, was really out of a need for smaller communities that wanted to drive sales tax dollars to fund projects in their community, right? We want to generate sales tax dollars. We want to create jobs and create a better quality of life for everybody in the communities that we partner with. So the national retailers that you see on the screen, those are not just ones that have been by happenstance they've come into the communities that we partner with. They're ones that we have documented, proof that we've networked with, and we've brought and influenced into the communities that we serve. So we are really proud of the firm or the work that we've done thus far. And let's go ahead and go to the next one if you don't mind. So why are we here and what are we doing, right? So and correct me if I'm wrong, but Alva has had like really sort of a flat retail sales tax base over the last like 15 years. And so it takes a lot of effort to generate those sales tax dollars, right? And we know one of the best ways to do that is, especially in Oklahoma, is through national retail. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, resources, it takes a network to do that, and that's what we try to do at Retail Strategies. We try to bridge the gap between property owners, tenant reps that work for national retailers and national retailers themselves, developers and City Hall to, expedite national retailers opening up in your market. And of course, the goal is always to generate tax revenue, job creation, quality of life, and of course, generate new business. Go ahead. So, why does it take so long, and what are the retail realities? Well, I'm not going to go through every single part of the retail timeline, but I will tell you that a lot of this, it's not 36 deals that get done in 36 months. Sometimes these deals take anywhere from 18 to 36 months to get done. So if you're asking, if you look at the proposal that we sent, we do ask for a 3-year partnership, right? Because a lot of times we can see those doors open, those grand openings happening very early on in that partnership. But sometimes for those larger deals, especially ground up developments and construction, it takes a little bit longer for those to come to fruition. And it all really starts on day one in Wall Street. Back in January, for example, I like to use Burlington Coat Factory. They said, hey, we want to open 400 different locations, right? So the investors give that declaration to the real estate directors, and the real estate directors, just they're responsible for the whole country. So it goes through the timeline there, but of course what we're ultimately interested in is that grand opening. So just to let you know a little bit about that partnership, that's why we do ask for like a 3-year partnership, because sometimes it does take a little bit for us to not only come in and get to know your community, but to influence those retailers to open here. So let me walk you through our process a little bit. The first one is discovery. You can go ahead. And the discovery phase is the first 100 days of our partnership. So just to walk you through what we do, how we do it, the secret sauce, right, is in that first 100 days, it starts with data. We know that data drives retailers. We know that data is really important, but national retailers aren't looking at the confines of the political boundaries, right? They're looking to generate, it's all about driving profit. So we use data as our first step to discover your community. Go ahead. So just to let you know a little bit about why, we are the largest retail firm, recruitment firm in the country, and we're really proud of what we do. And a lot of times people are like, it's a tall task to invest that kind of money in national retail recruitment. But this is part of that, and that's through our subscriptions that we have. And so just to let you know a little bit about that, I won't bore you with all of that, but just to let you know what that price tag is, that's where a lot of that comes from, is a lot of the subscriptions that we have. So
this is my typo that I missed too, because our annual research spend is a little over $200,000, and so that's one of those is saying, Jeremy is great at what he does, but if we're going to combine this and do this, and the city's going to take it on, the amount of data that's required is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is some of the value that we bring, is we're able to share that cost among everybody, so the city doesn't have to buy $200,000 worth of data. It all is included with what we do. So.
100%. And I don't know if you're a data nerd, but I am, and we'll dive into that a little bit more, if you don't care, Mr. Steven. So one of the ways that we go above and beyond to influence national retailers and developers to come to your community is through creating a custom trade area. So we know that Alva has about 5,000 folks in it, right? But we also know that the people that are spending dollars in Alva aren't just the people that live here, but they're driving through here to go to the sand dunes, right? They're the people in the community, outside of the community, and you're a retail hub for about 50 to 75 miles. So you guys know that people are driving to Alva to spend their money at Walmart, to go to Sonic, right, to go to the McDonald's. So we create what's called a custom trade area. So when we are marketing, and we're going to the ICSC conference next week, and we're talking to what were we talking about earlier? Panda Express. We're talking about Panda Express. We are like, hey, it's not Alva as a town of 5,000 people. It's really a custom trade area of close to 10,000 people, right? So we're able to really take those data points and use them to our advantage. And we're not just looking at the confines of the political geographical boundaries. We're looking at the people who are coming to Alva, who come driving through it to spend their money here. Go ahead. So I always like to preface this. Even New York City has retail leakage, but what I mean by retail leakage is people are going to go outside of the city to spend money. We want them to spend the money here. So one of the ways that we're able to talk to retailers and convince them, hey, it's really great to have Aldi come, right? That's a main retailer that I was thinking that would fit really well here. We create what's called a gap analysis, and we look at what categories are people, are they leaving to spend their money, right? We want them to keep their sales tax dollars here, but just for example, I was able to run the numbers, and believe it or not, there's $112 million sales tax leakage. So we want to minimize that as much as possible, but we also know that it's never going to be zero, so don't be too freaked out by those numbers. But those were the three categories that we were looking at that there's the most sales tax leakage. So people are leaving Alva to spend their dollars elsewhere. We want to keep them in. So this is how we identify those categories. One of my favorite things that I love to look at is mobile data collection, and that's how we created that custom trade area I was talking about. We take your top 3 or 4 national retailers in your market, and those cell phones that we carry around, they do create our custom trade area for us, and you can see by the density map on the screen, that's the Alva Walmart, and we know that people outside of Alva are going to spend their money here, and we create that custom trade area by taking your top 5 national retailers and creating a boundary around that. Sort of an aggregate, like a composition of that. So, go ahead. Another way that we're able to, and again, this is still during that first 100 days of our partnership, is to use what's called a peer analysis. So, for example, I've worked with a community in Mississippi, Cleveland, Mississippi. It reminds me a lot of Alva. They have Delta State University there. A very similar population. And for example, we had McAllister's Deli open there, and one of the ways we were able to influence McAllister's to come to Cleveland, Mississippi was we said, hey, here are other cities that are very similar to Cleveland that have your restaurant in there, or have the McAllister's. So we're able to look at, old quick service restaurants, for example. The gray would be the peer analysis. Where are these retailers coming that are very similar to Alva, and how can we get them there? And so peer analysis is one of the many ways that we utilize that data to influence those retail decisions. So at the very, very close to the end of the discovery phase, what we do is we call it right-sizing retailers. We look at the retailers that are going to fit Alva, Oklahoma. We're not going to say Trader Joe's is probably not a fit, but we know that a group like Dunkin' Donuts, which I'm a big coffee fan and a big donut fan, would be a really great match for you guys. Especially we were driving the market just a minute ago and saw some places to backfill. I'm telling you what, that is like the hot spot right now for commercial real estate. People are somewhat hesitant to do ground up construction, but when you have those second generation spaces, they're going to catch a lot of retailers' eye. And so just for example, Dunkin' Donuts, we don't just like shoot at a dartboard with a whole bunch of retailers and say these are the ones we're going to go after. We look, and we're really recruiting anywhere from 30 to 125 retailers on a monthly basis, reaching out to them, say, hey, based on that peer analysis, based on that custom trade area, based on the VPD, which vehicles per day, based on that population requirement, which again, if we just would have looked at the geographical boundaries, 5,000 people, it may not have worked. But the way we're marketing Alva is we're saying, hey, there's really close to 10,000 people in their custom trade area. And so that's how we are right-sizing those retailers for you. And that's how we come up with your prospect list. Go ahead. So that's the end of that first 100 days, right? We're looking at the data, we're right-sizing retailers, and we're going to jump right into the real estate analysis, which at the heart of our company is what we are. We're a commercial real estate firm, right? And so at the end of that 100 days or close to it, we'll actually have a team come back and do a lot of, we call it boots on the ground. They're going to drive the market like Ryan and I did today, and we're going to catalog all of your commercial real estate. Go ahead. And the way we do that, one of the ways, is we look at universal metrics: parking, traffic, ease of access, signage. And what that looks like for Chick-fil-A is going to look a lot different for Tractor Supply, right? Tractor Supply is not afraid to go out and be a little bit more rural, but Chick-fil-A is going to want that main, great home run real estate. Go ahead. And this is part of when we were talking about the different subscriptions and proprietary data that we utilize. We use something called SiteWise. So when we come into your community, we catalog all those green dots on there are different sites that we've cataloged. Not all of it, but this is just an example of it. And we put a little green dot, put all the information on there. Sometimes that commercial real estate is on the market, but a lot of times it's not. And that's part of what we do is we get you to know your local property owners, local brokers, area brokers. We put all that information in there, and that really helps us keep, again, day to day, a good eye on what's available and what property owners are motivated, who's ready to sell, and so that is one way that we categorize or we take stock of your retail inventory. Go ahead. So our partnership. Who are we? Who are you partnering with? and who is your team, and what deliverables are you going to get as a partner with Retail Strategies. Go ahead. So of course, as it stands, we have 177 clients throughout the country that we partner with, and it's not just, you see Ryan and I today, which you can go ahead and move to the next slide. But you are backed by a much larger team, right? We have about 70 people on our team. So what we like to say is, if I don't have the answer, I know that there's somebody else that does. We have 4 offices throughout the country, all really located in the South. We're moving west. We have an office in Dallas, and hopefully we'll have one in Oklahoma at some point. But again, you're not just backed by 1 or 2 people. And again, Jeremy does a great job, obviously, but there's not a chance that he would be able to have those 500 meetings that we're going to have at ICSC with a plethora of active developers and national retailers. That's not possible for one person, even though I do love a good meeting. 500 meetings for 70 people is a lot more tolerable than for just one. Go ahead. Deliverables. What do you get as a partner with Retail Strategies? One, the market analysis. That is where we're going to provide the retail inventory. That's where we're going to look at the data. We're going to look at psychometrics, vehicles per day, density maps, mobile insights. That is part of one of the first deliverables that you'll get within that first 100 days. 2, the retail recruitment plan. This is really where the rubber meets the road. After the 100 days is over, Cam South, who is one of our fantastic portfolio directors and has worked in Oklahoma for quite some time, he will present you guys our recruitment strategy, right? We've done all the data finding. We've taken inventory of your commercial real estate sites. Now, what is the strategy? Who are your prospects? That's what everybody always wants to know. It's kind of exciting. It's like speed dating. You're like, who do we match with, right? And so that's where you'll get all of that information. And that gets updated every year. So it's not something that it's just like one and done. That's going to change because, one retailer may not be expanding this year, next year. Day to day, these guys change their plans. So we're always going to keep you updated with those, with whatever our recruitment strategy is. We want to make sure we're in alignment with you all, and we're recruiting the kind of retail that you want in Alva. Last but not least, our marketing guide. A lot of times developers will just pop up at City Hall. Sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely does happen. And we like to give you guys a deliverable that has all the data that a developer or a national retailer, even residential retail or developers might be interested in. What does the custom trade area look like? How many vehicles per day? What national retail is already in the market? And so that's a marketing guide that we bring you, and we like to say, leave it at City Hall. You never know who it can reach, but it'll have all of that valuable data that otherwise might be lost to a neighboring community otherwise. So those are some of those deliverables that you get in your hand. Right. Going back to conference representation, that team that I just showed you a moment ago, we are going to over 150 trade shows and conferences on your behalf. And so while I'm not going to all of those conferences, Ryan's not going to every single one, there's somebody from our team that's representing you over all of the other communities and saying, hey, this is why you need to be in Alva, Oklahoma. And so again, it's not just one person, it's not just 2 people, it's about 70 different people going to a bunch of different trade shows and conferences throughout the United States.
So if we were to send somebody to one of these trade shows,
yes.
What does that look like financially? What kind of obligation would we have for that?
So it depends on where you're going, but ICSC Las Vegas, again, that's about 25 to 30,000 retailers that are going to be there. I think it was $1,800.
The ticket just to get in is $1,800 for Vegas. And
yes.
There's one in Red River. There's one in Dallas for the ICSC Red River.
Yeah.
It's focused on Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. I think that's it. They don't go to Kansas. It's just those states, and that is $1,000 for that ticket. So you're at $2,800 without travel, without hotels, just to step foot into the showroom.
Yes.
And that's just for one of us.
One of you.
That's for one person. And again, not one person is going to be able to meet with 200 different retailers, and a lot of us have developed relationships with a lot of these national retailers. Again, like my background is Chick-fil-A, that's what made me a really good candidate for this position, because I've worked with one of the white whales in the industry, and we know the ebbs and flows, and we're able to connect them with the people on our team where it makes sense and influence them to come to the markets like Alva. Go ahead. Just a little bit more about that conference representation. And I really like this graphic too, because it really does show you how we're facilitating. Like we like to say, we're not we're not magicians. We can't, make Panda Express appear overnight, but we're able to connect the local brokers, commercial developers, because those are the folks who are building these national retail locations, right? Community leaders, because there might be an opportunity with Aldi to come in and say, hey, Aldi wants to be here. They're going to want to know what the incentive package looks like. And if they don't know that off the top of their head, a lot of them will just, they won't even, come in and give the time. We're able to facilitate those conversations ahead of time and remove a lot of those barriers for entry for national retailers that you want here. Okay. Client successes, you can go ahead. This is always, like Truett Cathy always says that, or he said, that the fun is in the winning. And so this is the fun part. I'm not going to read you any of this. In fact, we can go to the next one. But just so you know, those are national retailers that we have recruited nationwide, again, that we have relationships with, specifically in Oklahoma, right? We've recruited over 80 new businesses, and we're generating over almost $3 million in sales tax that we can track. And our job creation is close to 730 jobs throughout the state. These are brands that we have recruited. Go ahead. You may be saying, Lindsay, Rogers County, that is near the big city. Why does that matter to Alva, Oklahoma? And what I'll say is, when you are located near a big city, a lot of times they will overlook you. So Claremore, Rogers County, they were experiencing a lot of sales tax leakage, and they're like, hey, we are really close to Tulsa, but people aren't looking, national retailers, we're not able to get their attention. So they hired us back in 2016. And again, through prospecting, through right-sizing retailers, we were able to bring Tractor Supply to the market, which is it's a really great national retailer to bring right off the bat. It took a little bit of time and an incentive package, some conversations between their economic development folks, the retailers, the developers, but we were also able to bring Aldi there as well. And so that's something that we're really proud of. Go ahead. Of course, I will stop talking now. Would love to open it up for any questions that you have. This is a great time to start a conversation and make any clarifications that we can and hear your thoughts.
Thanks, Lindsay.
My pleasure.
I think based on conversations that Steve and Jeremy and I have had, Jeremy, you can weigh in here, but if Woods County Economic Development or the City of Alva, either one, were to get a portion of a data subscription or whatever, what was the number you were sharing with me for the?
Well, there's, for example, Placer AI, they're a group that you get that, as Lindsay was talking about, that pings from cell phones, and so they pull event information for you. Their annual, the lowest I've seen is $18,000 a year. So that's something that just that particular point, and a lot of people, they'll use that to see where people are going. A lot of people will use that for events. So you can pull that information and use it for multiple things. But that's just an example of one type of software. I guess you would call it
software subscription. And just to piggyback off that, we really try to act like as a data concierge. So it doesn't have to be retail related. It can be tourism related. It can be you're curious how your McDonald's ranks in the state. We'll have those conversations with you. And so again, it's not just something that we. Go ahead, Brian.
How does McDonald's do when students are on campus versus the summer when they're off campus? Like any of that sort of data is stuff that it's not a one and done. It's an active relationship between what Retail Strategy is doing and what the city is doing.
Correct.
And then in turn, are you able to, like, for example, the Alva Car Show?
Yes.
And pull the data of who's going to that car show and where are they coming from? So then next year we can advertise.
What are their spending habits?
Exactly.
So I think it's like an average of 4 hours. If somebody comes to your market for more than 4 hours, they're going to eat here. They're going to do some shopping here. We're able to identify those categories and really tailor our retail prospect list to suit that. So that's one of those ways that we're going to bat for the communities that we partner with.
Are you able to share maybe some of the national retailers who you would probably put at the top of your list if we were to go on a contract with you?
So I have pulled some prospects. Dunkin' Donuts was one. I also noticed that there's a big gap in clothing and reach and act like I call it. It's all retail, but shopping. I love to shop, and Five Below is another one of those groups. Five Below. Is anybody familiar with Five Below? Okay, because I used to think it was like something that you did when you go skiing, but like I have a child that really loves Five Below. We think of Five Below would do really well here. A lot of times they will like to be in a shadow center of Walmart. We were looking at your Walmart. There's a lot of great out parcel opportunities. There's a lot of land for strip center development right there. Also, Alta was another group that we pinged that that was one of the highest deficits in their sales tax leakage was in like the health and beauty, Panda Express. So those are some of the ones off the top of my head. I think Aldi, grocery, you had a gap of like $40 million in sales tax leakage. So one of the things is Aldi is expanding about 300 stores in the next 5 years. We would love to get one of those here and lessen that grocery gap. Of course, it's never going to be zero. Like I said, New York City, they have sales tax leakage. But I would say that Aldi, Panda Express, Chipotle, they're rolling out their new Chipotlanes model. They are really focusing on rural and suburban markets. They are in very much expansion mode. I would say that Salad and Go is another group that I think would be a really good prospect here. We recruited them to Del City.
What was that one?
Salad and Go. I don't know. I like a salad, but yeah, that is another group that's absolutely expanding. I don't know if you're a salad man, but it would be great to capture all those sales tax dollars that we don't want them spending on sales. If they're going to eat a salad, we want them to eat it here.
And some of that is back to, I think, what Lindsay has talked about. We can know based on the data that we can pull really quickly on a desktop. Well, we know what people are leaving the community to go and buy, and we know what sites we can find online that look like they might fit that. But the reality is, and Aldi, let's continue on that path, and Aldi is not going to say, well, we like this, and we'll make that work for us. They're going to want to know, is the site that I require?
Yes.
And so some of that is our due diligence of going and saying, is the site here? Can we put it there? Mayor, you know this landowner. We're going to talk with them and see if we can put together a site that would entice them. So when we say the brand, that's who matches the demographics, the psychographics, some of the vehicle counts, population counts. But the real estate drives so much, and the boots on the ground of having a team come and spend like days here cataloging every piece of available on-market, off-market commercial property is such a big part of that, so we can deliver, say, Aldi, this is what your requirements are. We know what they are. Here's the site in Alva, Oklahoma.
We're trying to make their job as easy as we can make it, so they can't tell us no.
So surely we're not unique in that, I remember when Walmart came in and opened their super center. We had Walmart, but then they opened their super center, and it wasn't very long, and our grocery store closed. And so we've got two grocery stores. I'm really shocked at the grocery leakage numbers that you shared.
Sure.
And we've just recently, how recent is the data?
So it's year to year. So I believe this is 22 to 23. So September 22 to 23. And what I'll say to that is there are communities that we work with. Our thing is we work for you. We're a branch. We're an extension of your economic development arm. So if you're like, hey, so I'll give you an example. Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. They had a huge grocery gap. And the Mayor Calais, he said, I am friends with this local grocery store owner. I don't want you to go out and recruit grocery stores. Now, we're out there having these meetings and we're talking to folks, so we can't say we're going to make sure that no other grocery store comes there, but we're not going to go actively. We align with with the wants and the desires of all the Oklahoma is, So if you say, hey, that's a conversation that we would have right during our kickoff call when you're getting to know more of the team. They're getting to know you. They're doing all their due diligence and discovery. We're not going to go actively recruit Aldi if you say, hey, that's not something that we wanted. That's not something that we want for our community. We don't feel like it's best. So just so you know, we're not just like, cowboy and rodeo, just going after it. Our things, we work for you, and we want to align with the goals that you have for your administration and for the community as well. So while we can't stop them from coming in, we're going to know about it, and we'll be able to bring that to you ahead of time for sure. And I'll be honest with you, listen, small businesses, I think sometimes it scares them when they hear national retail. A lot of the times what we do is we're able to take somebody that's got maybe a florist that's on the commercial dragon, maybe their rent's too high, they're not able to afford that space, and we're able to help, backfill that location while simultaneously moving them maybe somewhere downtown and somewhere that has more walkability and that makes sense for those small businesses. So we're not in the habit of putting anyone out of business. We're really, truly, again, we're just really a branch of your economic development arm.
I saw it, I can't remember if it was prior to the night or if it was in what you showed this evening, but you had indicated that based on your experience, you'd expect after year 3, we'd start seeing probably a sales tax number increase of around 105,000.
So our average client return is 100. You can make no guarantees. We always talk about that, right? But our average clients have 105 annual sales tax at the end of our 3-year engagement. But in Oklahoma, it's higher. It's closer to about 160 because everybody in Oklahoma is funded solely on local sales tax. So the spend is not that different, but the tax dollars are higher because the tax rate for local communities is higher.
So, and that's
an
increase.
Not promising, but that's what our data is on our returns.
Well, I guess my question is that based on gross receipts for the municipality or in the municipality, or is that based on just your customers?
That is only the deals that we have touched and played matchmaker for the community.
Do you have any data? You've got all kinds of data, but do you have anything that shows that it actually was a net increase for the municipality? It's one thing to have a Dollar Tree set up on the corner out here,
Right.
And then they are generating sales tax for the city. But if they're generating sales tax and then Walmart isn't, it's a wash.
Sure.
Do you have any data that help us?
I can't recite it to you, but we can give it to you to follow up because thankfully we have a decent client list in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma reports to the state auditor every year, so we can go and say our beginning of our engagement was Claremont 2016 or 17.
2016.
2016 was the first date of when we started our engagement. Now here we are in 2024. They're still a client, and the growth is X, right? And so we can say from that level. Okay. Yes, I can get way in the weeds probably. So.
And in terms of reporting, I know a lot of the work that we do is hard to quantify, but we do have we call quarterly business reviews. So at the end of every quarter, you'll get a deliverable that will have all of our top prospects feedback, both good and bad, because I think, as we know, sometimes it's good to know where we can remove roadblocks, and sometimes that's not anything that we can do. We have, again, our best relationships and the most success we see is when we really are truly partnered with communities and we're in those discussions with you. So you'll have something in hand every quarter to sort of quantify the work that we're doing and all the conferences that we're attending on your behalf. You'll get a lot of that real-time feedback through our reporting platform, which is called Basecamp, but we'll also deliver you a actual quarterly business review every quarter, so to update you on progress as well.
So if we have roadblocks, let's say our zoning ordinances are roadblock.
Oh, I'll call you. I'll give you a call. Yes.
Okay.
100%. I mean, that really is, a lot of times it's so wild to see the way just one thing can remove one barrier, and you'll see, that might change the game for retailers that have been looking at your market that you didn't even know about for the last 10 years.
So are you able to offer us maybe some, technical guidance too on how to set, if we've got something that's a roadblock, how to fix it? Or just say, hey, here's your problem, you guys figure it out.
No, I would never do that. No. The Chick-fil-A in me wouldn't let me. I'll give you a good example of that. There's a community that I worked with in Louisiana, Walker, suburb of Baton Rouge. They were having a problem with storage facilities coming in. I mean, they were just taking over all of the second generation available spaces and making it really hard for anybody that is generating sales tax dollars to move in. And so we were able to say, hey, and again, this wasn't me, I was able to ask somebody who'd been doing this job a lot longer. They said, hey, if they're going to come into your city, make sure you have an ordinance that they have to have a retail component with that storage facility. I haven't talked to Mike Cotton in a while, but as far as I know, that's not been an issue there. So we're able to give you that advice, and again, it's not just backed by Lindsay, which is pretty good advice, but it is backed by a much larger group of people that have a lot of experience in this field.
And you're also, I assume when it comes to the recruitment or trying to, one big part would be to increase sales taxes to get the outsiders to stop and spend.
100%.
So you know what to target in regards of what they're looking for as far as the outsiders.
Absolutely. I would say the best example of that are coffee users. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, they don't want to be on a road where it's the speed limit 65 miles an hour. They want to stay under 35 miles or less. They want to be on the AM side of the road, even though Ryan will drink coffee AM or PM. But those are the kind of things that we're looking for. We're not just saying, oh, Dunkin' Donuts, we know that you're expanding. Like, here's a great site. You should come to Alva. They're awesome. We're going to say, hey, this is why you should be there. This is the AM side of the road. This is the vehicle per day count. It matches all of your site criteria. And the city is very business friendly. And you know that because they're working with us.
I think kind of Jeremy's point too, that's what, when we talk about national retail, Lindsay and I both have a real passion for small business and local community and local business owners. But the reality of travelers is people don't stop. The name recognition matters.
It does.
And so as great as Vanilla Bean is, when I'm on the road and I'm going from Tulsa to Little Sahara and I need coffee, I don't look up, where's the closest Vanilla Bean to me? I type in my phone, where is Starbucks, where is Dunkin'? And that's, I say, I know that brand, I know what I'm going to get, I'm going to stop there. So that's the multiplier effect of the national retail is, how do we get people off the road and pulling off, stopping and spending dollars, and it's with brands that they recognize and know and can see.
And just to add to that, it made me think of my very favorite initiative that I've been working on for a while, and that's generating a lot of interest around and lowering the barrier of entry for franchisees. So that's another thing, is that we're able to come to you and say, hey, this is a retailer that wants to be in the market. Jersey Mike's, they're a fabulous national brand. Love a Jersey Mike sandwich. A lot of times they need a franchisee to push that grand opening. So we're able to contact the closest franchisee and say, hey, are you interested in another location? Or, hey, how do we get somebody from Alva to open up a business here? Because to me, that's really like the best feeling, is when you get somebody from a community that you work with invested in those long-term relationships with a national retailer, and they're able to, not only improve quality of life, but generate sales tax dollars. It's a win-win all around. So
you would like, when you're reaching out to people, you tell us, hey, Jersey Mike's wants to come here, but you got to find someone who wants to be a franchisee. And then it could be on us to try to find someone who would open the.
So there's we're actually piloting now franchisee interest sessions. I hosted the first one actually in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, back in October. It's still very much in its pilot program, but it's something that we do with a lot of the communities we partner with. Is we say, hey, let's get somebody from a local CDIF certified bank that knows about small business loans, low interest loans, grants for women and minorities. I mean, there's a lot of just grant funding out there for franchise startups. Utility companies often have incentives. I know Mississippi Power, where your stomping grounds, in some places in Mississippi Power will pay up to half of their franchisees or reimburse up to half of their fee. So we try to break down whatever barriers we can to get those businesses open, but we'll 100% always offer those opportunities.
Also an example of solving for roadblocks. If we go and we say, well, we've talked to Dunkin', we've talked to Jersey Mike's, they both love the real estate, but they need a franchisee because Jersey Mike's and Dunkin' Donuts don't do corporate stores. They have to have a franchisee.
Yeah.
So hey, we've got 2-3 brands. They like the market. They like the real estate, but they need a partner in this. They need a franchisee.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and contact who's the franchisee in Wichita, who's the franchisee in Enid.
So you guys even contact other franchisees and maybe they open here.
Yeah, correct. I mean, if we can keep the money here where an individual makes money while the city makes money that lives here,
We'd love that's the ideal.
that's the best situation.
Right.
But ideally too, it's
Well,
a lower income community, and so there's not a million people here that can spend that kind of money to open a
Absolutely.
franchise. So, but if you're willing to
The
do that,
SBA loans are huge, and just trying to navigate that
it can be very
as an
daunting.
individual is a pain, so. Yeah.
Absolutely, and trying to bring that information to folks who are interested about. And again, we're still piloting that interest session. I know that Cam actually hosted the first one, I think, in Claremore.
Yep.
And he brought Starbucks. I forget the national, but he actually brought the national retailer. So if anything, sometimes it's just like planting a seed of that as well, because you don't know where that's going to blossom from. Somebody who's say, hey, I really want to keep my kids in the community or my grandkids in the community. What do I have to do? I mean, there's franchisees opportunities that are as low as $20,000 for entry, which is not, chump change by any means, but it's really like less significant than a Starbucks franchisee where you have to have like $500,000 in liquidable assets. So.
So how many, Alva's, there's urban, rural, and then there's Alva.
Yeah.
How many small towns like Alva, where you're 2 hours from the nearest airport?
That's like our sweet spot. So I was telling Ryan that, before I came to work in Oklahoma, I was working in Mississippi Delta. It reminds me a lot of Cleveland, Mississippi. You should look it up. They have the Rock and Roll Hall, like the Grammy Museum there, but it's a town of about 5,000 people. They have Delta State University, the Fighting Okra. It reminds me a lot of, it really does. It reminds me a lot of Alva. I was like, this is like an ideal client community for us.
Fighting okra? Fighting okra.
Listen, go Google it. I've got a sweatshirt. I'll send you one. I'm telling you what, they're awesome.
Cleveland is 2.5 hours from the Jackson, Mississippi airport.
Yeah.
2.5 hours from the Memphis airport. A town of 5,000 people, and we have a laundry list of wins.
We've been there for 7 years there now. We're working to get, they had a big grocery gap too, and they had a Kroger that wasn't doing them much service, so we're working on a ground up construction for them with the Rouses.
So that first community you mentioned,
Yeah.
what were some of the businesses you were able to bring it there?
Yeah, so we had McAllister's Deli, a Sonic, Rouse's, Five Below, Harbor Freight, and Pet Sense. And I think TJX Brands is also working on, we're working on a TJX deal, which TJX is like Marshalls and TJ Maxx, all those real fun discount clothing stores.
Marshalls, Ross, Home Goods, and TJ Maxx are all the
Thank you.
same.
You could bring a TJ Maxx and a Chipotle here, my wife would love to grab it.
That's what I always like to ask. That's what I was asking Ryan. I was like, we can't promise
I love
it.
it too, because I wouldn't have to leave town as often.
That's the goal.
That's our sales pitch.
That's the fun part. That's like the fun is in the winning is when we're able to call you up or text you and say, hey, so I was able to text, I was talking to my friend, not that long ago in Louisiana, and I was like saying, hey, we had a connection with Don Brands, and one of our friends from the Carolinas, he just emailed us and said, hey, they've got interest in Pearl, Mississippi. So it's really fun. The fun's in the winning when you're able to tell them, hey, we're able to backfill that old Ryan's that's been sitting there for 5 years and bring something to the community other than just a dilapidated building. So.
As your trouble Barry said, no more resting places.
No, yeah, normally.
Hey, that's called, it's more like a Tex-Mex situation. It's like, what do they call it? Forget the actual, it's not like.
It's just Chipotle knock us out the list. I mean, is that Mexican?
Yeah, I don't know what you call
I'm
it.
for Chipotle, so.
But you brought up another point that's a great trickle effect that we have heard many a times. We could have had this professional come here, but the wife doesn't want to come here. Now, there's things that are here,
100%.
and you have that possibility of recruitment of professions and things like that.
And another thing that we talk a lot about is co-tenancy. And that's like, so Five Below is a group that I was saying would love to bring here. It makes sense data-wise to bring them here. They don't ever do like freestanding locations. They always go in, a co-tenant lineup for a shopping center with an Ulta. Sometimes they have an Aldi on there, but they like to be with other brands like PetSmart and groups like that. So we're able to we have a Ross that's interested. Let's look at what other co-tenants nationally do they like to partner with. Let's get a lineup and let's go pitch it to a developer.
And that's really
That's fun.
the secret sauce a lot. That's really it. We are a consulting firm, but I hate that because we do not deliver a report and walk away. We our team spends their day marketing and calling them on behalf of the communities that we work with. So calling people on behalf of the city of Alva. But it's not just the retailer. We hear brands, back to the franchisee piece, right?
Yeah.
So we hear brands, I'm going to stick with Dunkin' because we talked about Dunkin'.
Yeah.
We've got a Dunkin', we like a Dunkin', but Dunkin', Taco Mai is actually a little too big for them. They want to be in a smaller space, but they would love to be a co-tenant. Okay, great. So we've got Taco Mai on the hook. Who else is going to go to this? Five Below. Hey, we want to be there, but we want to be in a co-tenant situation. Great. We have 2 people on the hook that are interested in the market. Let's go find the developer.
Anchor. Yeah.
Let's go find the developer,
Yeah.
and we'll go. And so we call them and say, hey, we've got these 2, and it's not just going putting a piece of paper on a desk of the Dunkin' real estate director.
That's not how you get it done.
Do you like Alva, Oklahoma? But saying yes, but, or yes, and. So then we go and take those ands to developer, to the broker. Who's going to build the building? Who's going to lease the building? Who's going to manage the building? Who's going to fill the building? Who's going to, all of that is within, that's what makes our work so unique, is that it's everybody to the table.
And a lot of times retail, Chick-fil-A, we used to say, it's not no forever, it's just no, not right now. So that prospect list that we generate for you at the end of that 100-day period, and again, that's constantly being refreshed, we're going to go back to those retailers that said no, not right now, and we're going to go back and advocate. And so many times, that's when we see wins, because a lot of times they'll say, no, not right now, but then 2 weeks later, a month later, we call them and say, hey, this property owner really is interested in selling. They're like, all right, let's go. So it can be that quick of a change of heart, but we're not somebody that we're just going to like say, oh, it's no. We're going to ask questions and find out why.
Are y'all familiar with the concept of a retail ladder? Is that something you've heard of?
And Troy, I think, was it Troy and Lacey or Troy? It
Troy.
might have been.
It was Troy.
It was Troy.
Well, retail's a ladder or the domino effect, and retail begets national retail. So one thing in that market guide I was telling you about, the middle page of that is just an aerial of the communities that we work, a community that we work with, like Alva, that has all the national retailers listed, because national retail wants to be by national retail. So you all already have a lot of the fundamental building blocks of retail. You have a Walmart, and you have a McDonald's. A lot of the communities we work with, there's one that comes to mind, Citronelle, Alabama. They didn't have a Walmart. So there's a lot of communities that we work with that they're at the we were able to get them a Jack's and a Dollar General, right? You guys have already been able to go to that next rung of what's next. We're looking at the Chipotle's, we're looking at the Five Belows, we're looking at the developments we can do. Really, Walmart and McDonald's are like the two biggest players and drivers for national retail. Almost without exception, any market that I've ever looked at that we've drawn a custom trade area, McDonald's and Walmart have been, if they have it in the market, those are the two retailers that we look at. That they drive, even Chick-fil-A looks at what the burger people are doing too.
Yeah, that's, like there are certain stores that say, I will not go there unless this person is there first. We will not look at the market unless McDonald's is already there. We will not look at the market unless Starbucks is already there. We will not. And so that's part of it, is starting to get those wins. So that if we want TJ Maxx, we've got to get this in the market, so the TJ Maxx now looks at the market, because that's a gatekeeper to sort of a gate to open up.
One way that I like to look at it is I like to say, what's our lowest hanging fruit, right? What's a group that we think, oh, like a Dunkin' Donuts, that makes sense here. That could be a really great win for us to initially. Then something else would be the next level would be a Ross, a TJ Maxx, an Ulta, and you build on that to get the Dick's Sporting Goods, to get the Academy Sports, to get those bigger groups that some of the communities that we've worked with and been partnered with for 10, 13 years, we're able to bring a BJ's wholesale too. And so it really is a ladder, and you guys have already done a really good job of establishing yourself with some great national retailers that, you've done a lot of the work for us in that way. So that helps a lot.
How long do your cities stay with you?
It depends. So some of our cities, we've only been in business since 2011. One of the cities that we've worked with, I can think off the top of my head, the longest that I know of is about 13 years. I know Foley, Alabama's was just been 13 years.
Addison's been for
12. It depends. I mean, it really is about how can we best serve you. Ideally, let's say in 6 years, we have 2 new shopping centers here. We got a lot of sales tax generation. We're well, what's the next thing? What do we want to look at? And that's, again, it's all about aligning with the vision that you guys have for your community. But it really is anywhere from about 6 to, right now we're at 13 years with, and Foley, Alabama is the group that we're working on bringing to BJ's Wholesale too. They've been a trooper, and
BJ's is a sandwich Costco competitor. So
sorry, I forgot, yeah. I live in a world of
I've never heard of it.
I live in a world, thank you, Ryan. I forget, you're what are you talking about? Yeah.
and that's what you hear BJ's, and I'm like, it means different things in different parts of the country. It's like
I did go to school, yes, okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if BJ's is national or not. The brew house.
I was you totally are. Okay.
No, but Brahms is an Oklahoma company.
Yeah.
I mean, are those on?
Yeah, I mean, if we go to the Oklahoma wins page, Brahms, we've done multiple Brahms, and
there we go. Well, they might be the next one. Yes. So those are some of the ones, Salad and Go. We did that one in Del City.
McAllister's, as you talked about in Cleveland, that's a regional deli chain in the southeast. I mean,
Yeah, it's
they
soup
might
and
get as far
salad.
as Dallas, but it's soup and salad, and it was
Jason's Deli.
started in Jackson, Mississippi. They're in Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi.
There's one to be in California.
There's a McAllister's in Enid.
Oh, there is good.
Second on
That's
thought,
very good to
right.
hear. What were you saying, Stephen?
I said Del Taco used to be a California-only company.
So what happened is they actually merged with Jack in the Box. And so I helped open, I would like to say that I helped open the very first one in Mississippi. I was able to meet with their real estate director. Her name's Esty Chang. And she was like, I'm over my head. Like, I was just the real estate director for one company. We're merging. She was like, we need franchisees. I was able to locate a franchisee who, it was actually a guy that had already been open. He had worked with Sonic. And he was like, I'd be super interested in opening a Del Taco. So we helped open the first one in Mississippi. So I've got a really close affinity to that brand. So.
And I know Sports Clips is one that brings a lot of the out-of-towners because of their internet capability. People search, they find, they put in their appointment.
Oh, that's
They're
right,
already,
yes.
On their way where they're going.
My hair appointments take a little bit longer than that, Jeremy, but yes.
That helps in recruiting those out-of-town.
Yes, sir, it
dollars.
does, 100%.
On the local side, I would say regional chains we will work with, but if it's like, hey, there's a really cool diner in Enid, can we get a second location in Alva? That's a pretty difficult lift because there's then the education on that side, but if it's like regional Oklahoma,
Oh, heck yeah.
Oklahoma, Kansas brands, absolutely.
We always like to say we want to see your retail wish list. So we want to know the retailers that matter to you all, like Chipotle, for example. Of course, we can't make promises, but that's something that drives our prospect list, right? They may not show up on our prospect list, but we're going to put them on there, and we're going to do our best to recruit them. So.
Well, and I think I might have shared this on the phone, but it was so much, sports and athletics going on in and around, whether it's the outdoor recreation in Winoka or whether it's the ball games and whatnot going on with the schools, the city leagues and the college. I've always felt like, a sporting goods store could do really well here. And,
Absolutely.
100%.
Hibbets is way expensive.
Well, Hibbets just got bought out. That's actually a Birmingham-based company, and they
Based in
needed to get
Birmingham.
bought out.
The family's in Birmingham, so we have worked really closely with Hibbets for a long time, but they just sold to a London company.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I like Hibbets, but I'm glad they got bought. I think it's going to be really good for them long term. So, I've seen their headquarters. I know where it's at in Homewood, Alabama. So.
Guys, what other questions? What I'd like to do is we can't take any action today. We don't have a quorum. But what I'd like to do, probably at our next council meeting, is have the council take action to have Steve and I continue this conversation and maybe get a contract in front of you guys for consideration. And obviously, nothing that you guys share here today is going to constitute a quorum or action by the city council. But I do, strongly feel that we've got to do something, and I don't feel like this is a Hail Mary at all. I feel like this is probably a very, wise move if we were to move forward with something like this. What information would you guys want to see that you haven't heard tonight in order to be able to, give this solid consideration?
I think I'm on board. I think we're done not to. We talked about it cost Jeremy $18,000 to get a bunch of data and it would be too much data for one man to even do on his own and to analyze on his own, not to mention all the meetings and all the other stuff that they were talking about. It'd be impossible for one man to do that on his own. So if we don't partner with someone like this, you're never gonna have those types of opportunities probably just in-house with our budget. So I think it's a smart move.
Have you guys ever struck out on bringing retail to a town?
I would say that really. Go ahead.
We'll be nothing but honest with you, and yes.
Yes.
Some of that is the expectation that we set up front.
100%.
Because if there is an expectation with our core group, with the people here, with the council, with the decision makers and influential people in town, that we brought on retail strategies, we're going to get a Dunkin' Donuts by Labor Day, by Memorial Day of 2025.
we are gonna strike out 10 out
Yeah,
of 10
100%.
times. And so our contracts are written in a way where they're 3-year contracts, but portfolio director comes and you have to approve it as the council. It's not an auto renewal.
It's
We
not.
you have to bless it and tell us, yes, let's keep moving, but we ask for the 3-year term because we know if we're judged on 1 year of performance, we're gonna strike out 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
So when there are plenty of times when a council has said, we have to do it now, and we're looking for the silver bullet in the next 12 months, those strike out often.
Yeah.
But that's, the number of those is infrequent. Once we go out to 3 years, by the end of 3 years, 85% of our clients have a win.
Because the name of the game for us is transparency, because at the end of the day, like I said, we work for you all, and we're just an economic development extension of you all, and so I would second that with Ryan. It's all about us doing a good job of being transparent, providing you with those quarterly business reviews, getting on, I mean, and that's another thing I'll tell you is that our team, you want to get your cell phone numbers, I mean, there are times that we'll have to be in communication with you, because it's not just us out there doing like ethereal work. We're going to have to say, we have parcel information, like one of the subscriptions that we have is we know who owns what piece of land, which is always fun to go and look at like the history of it. But there are times property owners are like, they don't want to talk to us. They're like, free help. It sounds like a scam. So I'll have to be like, hey Drew, yeah, I know you live right down the road from this guy. Can you let him know we literally are free help to the property owners, the brokers in the community. It's good for us to get our name out there and not just be like some hidden. I think that where we have our best success is when, like I said, we're partnered with the community in a way that's very upfront. They say, hey, Retail Strategies works with the city of Alva. So when we do call them, local property owners, the people that, we're ready to backfill vacancy, or they own the property beside Walmart. We're like, hey, a developer's super interested. We're able to have that community buy-in and let them know, like, we're not scamming you. We're not getting a piece of the deal. We're literally free help.
Big
Yeah.
piece of green dirt next to Walmart with a driveway that leads right up next to it. And so it's just, who owns it? And
Yes.
who we connect to, and how do we,
Yeah.
we don't know the zoning. There's a lot of things I don't know there, but those are the kind of things that work together.
There's the zoning.
Yeah, I mean, if we know what needs to be fixed, we can do that. Well, Jeremy, is there anything you'd like to throw in? I appreciate you being here and being supportive of this process, but is there anything you'd like to throw in or that you think the council needs to know that hadn't already been said?
Yeah, I think they pretty much covered a lot of it. And again, just a lot of what is offered is the value is going to be there. Using that information and, just not just on for what their purpose is, but them getting us information for other purpose, for other needs. Data research, whether it's a project, for some recreational activity, or whether it's an event with an event work here. That sort of data, that sort of information can be valuable. So not just with what their sole purpose is, but what they can get is, I think, valuable information that can be utilized for not just this city, but if we're able to somehow have Woods County, the other communities that are surrounding us, if they have needs, and see if there's any opportunity in partnership with them too.
That's how I kind of look at it, as an extension of Jeremy's team. We're kind of providing him with a team of people to work with, which makes his job a lot easier when you have more people to help you. So.
Well, we know how to get a hold of you,
Sure do.
and I hope you have a good week next week.
Me too, Mayor Parker. Oh yeah. I was like, this is like a vacation before we're about to go over the thank you.
But I really appreciate your travel just to be here this evening with no guarantees, and then your interest in our community over the years. I mean, you've been here. You know to a large extent what you'd be getting into, and that you're interested in Alva is meaningful to me. Again, I appreciate you guys coming up.
You told me I have to go turkey hunting sometime. I've never done it, but I'm like, here I am, like, let's go. So.
We can make it happen.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you for your time. And please don't hesitate to reach out. It's what we do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, we're not adjourned because we never.
Say, sorry.